Hey, Steve here with Slow Cheetah Guitar Works. I decided to go ahead and throw out another video. Today I'd like to talk about chords and everything about them. Of course, I'm not going to cover everything in 10 minutes, but just to give you a basic idea, introduction, what they are, how to use them, and also how to learn them. Okay, because chords can be very difficult to take up sometimes. So anyway, the little thing that I played in the beginning, believe it or not, was only 3 chords. And I'm going to show you those 3 chords that I just played. I'm going to show them to you. They're going to be a little bit different version, a little bit easier, but nevertheless, it's still going to be the same exact 3 chords. So, and I'll get into that later. So anyway, so number 1, what is a chord? Okay, a chord is whenever you play more than one note at the same time, simultaneously. So, for instance, if I went like this, that would be considered a scale, okay? If I went like this, that's considered a chord, okay? Now, there's different ways you can play a chord, okay? You can strum it. You can also kind of do a classical thing and use your fingers when you just, you play them all at the exact same time, and it gets more of a piano effect. So it gets something like something like this, okay, as opposed to. So you can play them that way, and then you can also what they call arpeggiate chords. It's just a big word for saying you're just playing one note at a time, so it's going like this. Okay, so that'd be an arpeggiated chord. Okay, so that being said, how does this all come together? Okay, so how are chords used? The first way that you're going to use a chord is it's going to be the foundation, the basis of a song. Okay, so for instance, in this situation, I think we're in D. So no, I'm sorry, we're in G. But we're going to start on a 5, which is a D chord. So what ends up happening is we play that D chord, right? And it's got to go somewhere, right? You can't just sit there the whole time. Where's it going, right? So what you want to do is find the next chord, or learn typically where the next chord is going to be, and that's what's called a key. So in this situation, we're going to go to G. Right? We can also go to C. So it would be something like this. So if you just kind of went down to 5-4-1 in the scale, it'd be. Okay, and if you kind of listen to that, it sounds like it wants to sit on G. Okay, it wants to sit on that last chord. Has a little, like, it's almost like the period of an end of a sentence or something. It's the end. It's the sort of the grounding root of that progression, at least. Okay, so what's the best way to learn chords? The best way to learn chords is going to be, number 1, you learn the shape. Okay, so in this case, D would be the chord we're going to learn. So what I would do is you want to place your first finger on your 2nd fret, 3rd string. Okay, and I'll just kind of hold my finger there. Okay. The next part of the chord is going to be you're gonna go all the way up to your 3rd fret, and you're gonna place your 3rd finger there. So it's gonna look like this. Okay. And then you can get your middle finger, the one you flip people off with. You're going to go here, right, on your 2nd fret. And if you hold them all at the same time, right, you want to hold that shape down and get real comfortable with that. And then the next step would be to make sure that your fingers aren't hitting other strings, because that's when you get that kind of a thing, right? And so what you want to do is you want to hold everything just nice the way it needs to be, and then arpeggiate the chord to make sure that every single note is ringing out, okay? So it will be something like this. Okay, if you get that sound, okay, now you know the D chord, okay? But if you get something like this, still know the D chord, okay? It's going to take a little bit more practice for you to get where your fingers need to be, and that's when lessons and stuff come in. But yeah, okay. So, but the basic premise is that you want to keep your fingers directly down on the fretboard, okay? So that's the first thing, okay? Now, when you play the chords, a lot of people, they train their fingers to go like 1, 2, 3, okay? And that's cool, but it's not going to work realistically when you're trying to play. You're not going to have time when you're playing through a tune to like go, okay, 1, 2, 3, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? You want to stop thinking of them as individual fingerings and as a shape, like a chord shape, right? So in my mind, a chord shape for a D is like, right? And the way I think is, but it works, right? It sounds kind of ridiculous, but I used to think of this as like, this is the roof of a house, and this is like a house, okay? And I was like, oh, okay, can I think of that? It's not gonna work, it's here, okay? Whatever works in your mind, but just get that shape, that grip, or whatever you want to call it, in your mind, and so that when you play the chord, it's not playing one note at a time, it's just, okay? So then the next one is gonna be G, okay? So then we're gonna go over here, and we're going to go to here. It's going to be our 3rd fret. We're going to use our 2nd finger. Then we're going to go to our 1st finger, right? 2nd fret. Then we're going to go to our 3rd finger, 3rd fret. Then we're going to go to our 4th finger, 4th fret. Okay? Now here's a little secret that I'll throw out, is that when you're going from your D to your G, this finger doesn't have to move. And that gives you a grounding. You just back and forth. Just hold this. That's one, and it's kind of a grounding. And if you notice when you play, you go from D, you just hold that shape and you go back and forth, okay? So G again is going to go like this. Right? Okay. And then the last chord we're going to learn is going to be our C, okay? So C is going to go with our 3rd finger, 3rd fret again. 2nd finger, 2nd fret. 4th string, right? And then it's going to be open, or just playing the string on its own for the G or the 3rd string. And then we're going to go to our 1st fret, 1st finger, right? We're going to have that, so it's going to go like this. So we have these chords here. Okay? So if I were to play these chords, the possible ways that we could do it is we could go from here. Right? We could go from here, backwards. And then we could, don't typically start on 4, but you can go like. So anyway, those are the different ways you can play it, and when you get those chord progressions down, because this is a 1-4-5, and I know that some of you, that makes sense to some of you, and then others it may not make any sense at all. But that's a whole other lesson to itself. Any rate, these 3 chords, the G chord, the C chord, and the D chord, will always work together, okay? G, C, and D will always work together, okay? I guess that's the best way to kind of explain what a key is. And then this idea that the chord progression we just learned was in the key of G, so G is kind of our root, right? It wants to go back there. Then back to G, okay? Now, what can you do with these? You can do a lot of things, okay? That little thing that I played in the beginning was, it was from going to D to C. 2 chords, right, most of the time, and then I went to a G for a little while, and then I went back to D and C. Okay, the whole thing was the 3 chords. I did play them a little bit differently, but they're same exact chords, okay, that we're playing, and I don't think there were any different notes in there either. So anyway, that's another little trick. So hopefully you got something out of this. The next thing I'm going to throw out is actually going to be about like what kind of guitar you should pick out if you're just starting out. I think that's really, really important. And so anyway, when I do put it out, hopefully you can take something away from that too. And you know, maybe some more of our advanced players, you know, like if you want to learn like this real difficult chord progression, instead of like sitting around and you know just memorize those shapes, you know, like little things like that. You know, just learning all those different types of chord, you know, and it never changes. Anytime I try to learn something new, I'm always like, okay, I have to learn the grip first, and then once you get that down, then it always works. So a lot of the things that I'm throwing out right now, they're like fundamentals, but you're always going to use them. So anyway, remember, learning the grip, okay, or the shape of the chord, and they all come down at the same time. That's going to be the most effective way and the easiest way to play through the chords. So anyway, until I see you in the next lesson, hope you enjoy it. Take care. Bye-bye.